Yo, what is going on YouTube? My name is Catmanjoe or Joey, and welcome back to another brand new video on the channel. The other day I was working on a video regarding which Minecraft Bedrock feature server has the best parkour, and while working on the video I was going through each of the individual features servers, testing them out and seeing if they had any parkour courses and how hard they were, if they actually did have any. Anyways, while I was roaming around the Mineville server for really the first ever time, I started saying to myself that, this would actually make a really good video actually. Why don't I make a personal review of this server, because I thought it would be fun, so here we are guys, enjoy. Now jumping into it, I'm sure most of you have heard of Mineville. It's one of the less played feature servers, and at a first glance is totally different than any of the other feature servers available. While most servers like the Hive, Cubecraft and Lifeboat all focus mainly on player versus player minigames and survival, Mineville doesn't. Your first impression when you spawn into Mineville City is that you're just inside some creative built city that honestly isn't all that impressive and are surrounded by buyable things. I'm talking skins, worlds, cars, spaceships, jobs, and especially pets. You'll find pets like the lost puppy literally walking around the city wanting to be adopted. However, when you click adopt, you are immediately redirected to a purchasable doggo for 400 mine coins. Almost all the NPCs that are around the Mineville city are solely just there for you to click on and then be redirected to a purchasable job or mission, which is a real shame. Moving on to the minigames available on this server, there is 6. There's Evolutions, Prison, SkyBlock, High School Roleplay, Dungeon Simulator, and InPvP minigames. Evolutions is a minigame where you farm materials to grow a specific pet, and each time you complete 3 areas your pet evolves, and each pet has 3 different levels of evolution. Now this didn't seem like my cup of tea, but for the purpose of this video I was willing to try it, but as soon as I went to go play the minigame, I got bounced back and redirected to purchase the Evolutions pass for 310 mine coins, so we couldn't do that. Next up we had Prison. Now from its own description, Prison is a minigame where you mine your way to freedom. There is 9 different mines to complete, and the objective is to go into the mines, gather resources, sell those resources, and then buy your way to the next mine to get better materials to sell them, and so on and so on and so on until you inevitably can escape. I don't personally see any replay value once you finish all the mines and do escape, but it sounded interesting so I tried it. But like Evolutions, as soon as I walked into any of the 3 mines, A, B and C, I got bounced back and redirected to purchase a Prison pass for 310 mine coins. So once again, sadly, I couldn't try that. For the third minigame, SkyBlock, genuinely I was actually excited to try it because I've never played SkyBlock before and I've always wanted to. For those of you who are wondering what it is, Mineville describes it as get creative and build an island to your imagination, jump into the portal pit to begin. Basically, getting to build your own floating island. Sounds fun, right? Well, as soon as you jump into the portal pit, immediately you get redirected once again to purchase either the SkyBlock pass for 310 mine coins, or this time the premium pass for, no joke here ladies and gentlemen, 4,280 mine coins. That's around £24 or $32 to play SkyBlock, so I definitely wasn't trying that. The fourth minigame, High School Roleplay, was kind of intriguing for me because although I've never really acknowledged it on my channel, I'm actually a big fan of some Minecraft roleplay series, my favorite being Sam Gladiator's Yandere High School, and although I've never actually participated in them myself, this did actually sound fun. My first experience in Mineville's High School Roleplay wasn't great though, to say the least. I got lost and I couldn't for the life of me find a single NPC that would allow me to teleport back to the hub, and before anybody goes down to the comment section telling me I could have just put /hub in the chat, like, I know, but somehow I completely forgot about it, and for about 20 minutes in the high school I was lost. I looked literally in every single classroom, asked all the NPCs, searched the football field, and I even actually checked the women's toilets, which it wasn't a very proud moment. My second experience later the same day in the high school was okay though. I decided to try one of the several classes available, which are Haunted High, Pet class, Driving class, Cooking class, Mining class, Building class, and Fighting class. But first of all I tried out the Farming class, which is labeled in the school as the Farming class, as I love farming, I thought it'd be a lot of fun. However, it was literally just the Cooking class and nothing more than that. You had to go and collect all the materials or all the ingredients manually, which as itself was painful because you're not only doing a monotonous task, but you also had to wait for the crops to grow, then race other players to harvest them because they're trying to complete their lessons too, which was just painful. I actually got so bored of playing it though, I went to go make a coffee and I accidentally dropped the plate and it broke, so yeah, that was eventful. Smashed the plate. Fucking hell, man. The fucking plate, one of them. It was What they're both the same, the one for the 5. The next class I tried was Haunted High, a catchers versus runners sort of game where you're in a high school late at night trying to find a hidden key to escape from the teacher roaming the hallways. And being honest, it was kind of scary the first time I played with the noises and the quick running teacher, but after a couple games it's super easy and it wasn't that hard to master. After Haunted High, I tried to play the driving class, but like usual Mineville fashion, you had to pay 310 mine coins to play it, and that was the exact same as well with pet class as well, so I couldn't play either of those two. The mining class, fighting class, and building classes were all thankfully free, but just like the farming class, incredibly boring, monotonous. You just got whatever the teacher told you to get until you had everything needed, handed it in, and then did the same thing again and again and again. However, I will mention the building class was fun, but just didn't give it any room for creativity. You just memorized the build and then rebuilt it in a specific amount of time with all the materials already given to you. The fifth minigame, Dungeon Simulator, I feel could be entirely described with literally just the word why. This minigame is nothing more than just killing mobs for some XP, to use that XP to spawn bigger versions of the mobs you already just killed for a better weapon, to then use said weapon to kill more mobs for XP, to use that XP to spawn even bigger versions of the mob you just killed. It's just why? I literally couldn't bring myself to go further than 3 levels because it was just so tiring and boring, and I believe there's actually 16 levels available.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
Now finally, the 6th and final minigame on the Mineville server, InPvP minigames. So far I've talked about 3 of the 6 Mineville minigames being locked behind paywalls, another one being somewhat lackluster, another one just being why, but what about InPvP, the bottom of the list, last option and final minigame? It's honestly actually incredible. Whilst making this video, I honestly genuinely expected InPvP minigames, since it was at the bottom of the minigames list on the Mineville server, to be most likely just some cheap PvP game mode or another pay to play minigame, but I was very wrong. InPvP minigames is without a shadow of a doubt a hidden gem within the Mineville server and gives players everything the server so far lacks. You spawn on what looks like an alien planet styled rock surrounded by really cool and unique designs, a fun and easy parkour course to incentivize exploring the spawn, and best of all, free to play games that actually are enjoyable and hold replay value. The first thing you'll notice when you spawn is a massive smiling robot holding an open portal, which if you click on gives you a complete list of all the normal Mineville minigames we just went over and more. You have the choice of playing 6 different minigames: survival games, build battles, sky wars, tower wars, money wars, or TNT run, each of which are completely free to play and actually feel fun. In TNT run, TNT will fall as you run across the TNT path. If you fall in the void, you're out. It's a fun and simple based quick gameplay mode, but if you play it correctly, it can be a long, intense game of careful planning and strategy. In Sky Wars, you spawn on an island in the sky with 3 chests full of blocks, items, weapons, and armor. You have to use said blocks to pile over to the other islands and kill all the other players, and the last man standing wins. In survival games, players start on small platforms in a circle in the air, and as soon as the game starts, players receive an light shot and can fly all around the map until they land. When the player lands, they can start looting before the invincibility timer runs out, and they will be able to fight people. The last one standing wins the game. Money Wars is a variant of Bed Wars and is similar to Sky Wars, but contains item generators and a shop. Players can respawn if they have a bed, and if a player's bed is destroyed and somebody has killed them, then they are out. Build Battles is your typical build battle game mode. You have several minutes to build whatever the theme is. You then vote on the best build and the most creative one wins. Then finally you have my personal favorite, Tower Wars. Tower Wars is a capture the flag like game mode, but with upgrades and resources. The map originally was dark with an end sky, but now it has 2 maps to alternate. They have a special elytra power up, but it's glitched. Now what's actually phenomenal about InPvP minigames is that there is still an active player base just hanging out on each of the different game modes. I with ease was able to connect and join full games on each of the game modes I just mentioned, except Build Battles, which was a little difficult, but my favourite and the one that caught my eye immediately was Tower Wars. I'm not quite sure why InPvP feels amazing to play, but it just does. I get a strange sense of nostalgia roaming the spawn or even playing the game modes, especially Tower Wars. You feel like you're playing on an old school Minecraft Minecraft server, but in an older and much simpler days of Minecraft, which to some I understand could be a bad thing, but to me, with all the servers nowadays being so bright and colourful due to the overuse of concrete or specific themes being overused such as cities or castles, it's nice to see something just different and that stands out amongst the crowd. Mineville as a server is not great though. It lags all the time randomly, and when it does it can be painfully annoying and horribly timed depending on what you're doing. The server itself feels more like an excuse to stuff countless pointless purchasable items down your throat than an actual fun server to play with friends. It lacks free to play content that is actually replayable, and worst of all, taunts its players by showing them the fun stuff and allowing them to get near, but then hits them with a non-avoidable paywalls and redirections. Mineville's only saving grace though is its uniqueness. It's the only Minecraft Bedrock features server to have normal roleplay and high school roleplay, the only server to have what feels like a small but genuinely tight, loving, loyal community, and the only server to have such a hidden gem within it. InPvP is, in my own words, a simplistic masterpiece of a sub-server. When you play on it, you feel as if you're playing on what was once one of the best servers to play on, but is now long forgotten and abandoned. I worked on this video, wrote the script, and gathered all the footage you've seen so far entirely alone, without any of my friends being with me or any of my subscribers, but I will for sure be returning to Mineville. Not for Mineville itself though, but for InPvP, to enjoy the nostalgia with my viewers and to have fun. My overall rating out of 10 for Mineville as a feature server is 5 out of 10, as it definitely needs some fixing and has quite a few major issues. It's a shame that this once hugely popular server has since become more of a pay-to-play server. It definitely is unique, but it's horrible that in order to fully experience its uniqueness and enjoy it, you have to be an oil rig owner. I genuinely don't understand why truly its single-handed best feature in PvP receives so little love and promotion on Mineville. It's such a hidden gem and definitely worth trying. Before I end, I'd just like to say I hope you all enjoyed this video. I wanted to try something new, and although it took me quite a while to put this all together and cost me a lovely plate, it was definitely a lot of fun, and I'd really love to do more content like this in the future, so let me know if you'd like to see that. Also, please don't forget to drop a like if you liked it, a dislike if you disliked it, and comment sharing your thoughts down below, and subscribe if you want to see more awesome content from me like this. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is Catmanjoe. I'll see you on the next video, and yeah, everybody, peace out.